interventional procedures with over 12 years of experience providing patients with pain management care. Dr. Kruer offers non-surgical options, including injections and radiofrequency, and is accepting new patients. Call Missoula Bone & Joint or schedule your appointments online at MissoulaBoneandJoint.com. Missoula Bone & Joint, quality care from people who care.
Just one taste of holiday coffee and you know we take freshness seriously. That's why we fresh brew our 100% Arabica bean coffee all day, every day, to give you the freshest coffee in town. So stop into Holiday and taste the difference yourself. Whether it's our sustainable rainforest house blend, Nicaraguan, or 100% Colombian, it's brewed fresh just for you. So stop in and taste the freshness. Holiday coffee starting at just 99 cents. And as always, only at Holiday.
I heard the signs before.
Depression.
Alcohol abuse.
Isolation.
Giving away possessions.
If somebody asked me what was wrong,
I would shrug it off.
I didn't want to say the word suicide.
I was
ashamed.
Then a loved one asked, "Are you suicidal?"
It was so hard, but I said yes.
They probably saved my life.
When it comes to suicide, the only wrong thing to say is to say nothing at all.
Need help? Text MT to 741-741 or call 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by DPHHS and aired by the NBA.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. If you loved our season opener, Go Please Go, or even if you missed it but still want to see the rest of the season, you're in luck. Season ticket packages are still on sale for just $70. That's $70 for 3 more innovative and exciting shows, including our production of War of the Worlds in January. Go to montanarep.com to get your tickets today.
Get ready to sing, dance, and laugh until your cheeks hurt with the interactive, unforgettable Dueling Pianos show, October 19th at the UC Ballroom. Dueling Pianos is a gala benefiting Montana children, and you can help by purchasing tickets at montanahope.org. Guests will enjoy a lively evening of dueling pianos, hors d'oeuvres, silent auctions, and raffles. All proceeds will benefit the Montana Hope Project and Catholic Social Services of Montana. Kids 10 and under are free. Learn more and purchase tickets at montanahope.org.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. The Bobcats fall for the first time to an FCS opponent. The Grizzlies have their first tie. Guess it's a tie. Is that what you do in the bye week? You tie it, right? There's no winners or losers, so it must be a tie. And yes, Week 6 in the NFL. And yes, the American and National League Championship Series. Hello, how are you? It is Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio and SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you here on this Monday afternoon. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Thanks for spending some of it with us on your radios, on your televisions, on your devices, however you are hanging out. We appreciate it very much. We are happy to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can also find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen live via the Listen Live tab, and you can do that for free, the stream, thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. If you'd like to pick up your phone and call us, 329-1899 is the phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Colter, how are you doing over there? Are you okay?
Why do you always have to tell people that if I'm not doing okay?
Because this is our,
they don't care, Gus. They only want to know what I think about the Bobcats getting their butts whipped. They only want to know about what I think about the Sentinel Spartans being the city champions of Missoula. And they only want to hear the sound that I recorded this weekend.
You are completely wrong on all fronts. They do want to hear all of that from you. That is true, and they will. But Coulter, people do care about you.
I'm doing well. I've been very
great.
frustrated for the last hour because I'm just so bad at technology, and it sounds so funny since I lived my life completely immersed in technology.
You run a website, yes.
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't know. For everybody out there that listens to our Big Sky Breakdown podcast, we hear you. We hear the feedback. You can always find it on Skyline Sports. It's always there. It's always right there. But people like the convenience, right? They like to be delivered here.
They want to get it where they get their things.
On their TuneIn, on their Apple. We're working it out. We got a new hosting thing, as you noticed, for Two-Tail Nuanez as well. We're combining our efforts. We're having all the stuff hosted at one spot. Transistor is our new hosting network, so we can have the Trail, probably someday the U, as well as ESPN Missoula and Skyline Sports all in one spot. It's going to be glorious. I'm just really struggling with getting the RSS feed or whatever that means so that it automatically distributes. Anyways, we hear you. I know that you want it delivered to you in a convenient fashion, and I'm working on it. It just you know how this goes. You're worse at this than me.
I was wrong. You're right. They do not care about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying they don't. Yeah. You're right. But it makes your brain scramble when you're trying to figure it out.
I am worse. I am far worse at this than you. The upside is I don't have to do this.
That's right. You're big and famous and powerful, so you can hire people to do it for you.
I have my minions. Yeah, that's correct. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. We start off, as we do the first hour of every week, with the Montana Football Hour presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. Only one game in the state of Montana at the Big Sky Conference level this weekend, and it was a loss by Montana State to Sacramento State 34-21. Coulter and I were both at this game, and we have sound for you from this game that we will get to. And we will also talk about this because it's very pertinent, because now Montana's upcoming opponent is Sacramento State in a week that Montana State heads into their bye. So how's that for symmetry? Pretty good. So we will get through all that in the first hour. In the next hour, we are going to get into some NFL stuff. We will also get into the new top 25 at the FCS level. And so we got plenty of things to go through. By the way, Greg Bell, who joins us normally on Mondays, we had a little scheduling conflict today, so he's going to join us tomorrow. He covers the Seattle Seahawks for the Tacoma News Tribune. So we will get him in here to talk about the Seahawks and their big win, and they're being 5-1. And it was a hard-fought victory. In fact, it looked very much like Cleveland was going to win that game at a couple of different points. But Seattle, they just believe and they just do it, and they got a quarterback who's absolutely rolling. I mean, right now, I'm not sure who you put above Russell Wilson in the MVP. I mean, if we're talking 6 weeks. Show me who would be the person that would be more valuable to their team than what he is and who's playing at a higher level. I don't know. He's absolutely out of his mind right now. Also, gosh, I am really upset about this with the Will Dissly injury, man, from yesterday. I guess we still don't have 100% confirmation, but it's effectively, we know, a ruptured Achilles on his other leg. He had his right patella last year. It's Achilles this year. I mean, you can't have, aside from, heaven forbid, an Alex Smith type of compound break, sure, you cannot have two worse, harder to come back from injuries than your patella tendon in your knee and then your Achilles tendon. And injuries, everybody hates injuries, of course. We understand that it's a part of the game, but, they're not all the same. And for that guy who's been playing so well and, in 10 games of an NFL career probably had the best 10-game tight end career of anyone ever, Will Dissly. And obviously as a Montana guy, too, from Bozeman, for him to go down like that is just, it's really, really disappointing. So certainly our best to him, to the family, and the road to recovery, which is once again long and arduous. So there you go. It's our show outlook. It's brought to us by MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Get an estimate now. They're insured. They're fun. They'll take care of your gutters. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. It is time now for the Montana Football Hour. The Montana Football Hour, again, presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula and Coulter. You and I were in Bozeman on Saturday. I was standing on the field for most of this game, in the press box for a little bit of it. You do most of your work up there in the press box, so we had a couple of different angles on this thing. But no matter what angle you had watching this game, this was a dismantling of Montana State by the Sacramento State Hornets. The Hornets, they won 34-21. That doesn't even begin to get you to what actually took place on the field. Sacramento State scored, count them up, after their initial 3 and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive touchdowns against a defense that we thought was pretty good and is good, but they had no answer for Sacramento State offensively. And then when Montana State had the ball, they also had no answer for the Sac State defense. I mean, it was every way that you can get beaten, they were beat. And Coulter, frankly, on this one, I lay this at the feet of the coaching staff and the head coach. I mean, they were out-schemed all day long, coming into it and in adjustments. And look, Kevin Thompson's a great player. George Obin is a great player. There's a bunch of really good players on Sacramento State, and that's a really good football team. And boys and girls, the Montana Grizzlies have their hands full this week, okay? So this takes nothing away from them. But also, Montana State was never in a position, I shouldn't say that. They were in a number of positions to be successful, but they were not for most of the time, and then also were often not in a position to be successful in the first place. And we'll hear some of that in the sound today. But they got thoroughly outplayed and out-coached in this football game to me.
The dominoes of a game are so fascinating, and the dominoes can have everything to do with anything from a decision to a penalty to an injury to a big play to the execution overall, and all of that got sort of out of control for Montana State. Montana State was gashing Sac State on the first possession of the game. They moved the ball up the field with ease. Looked like they were going to have a heyday. Again, looked like their offensive line was just going to smash. They were going to be able to run the ball. Tucker Rovig threw 2 first-down strikes to Travis Johnson. You're thinking, man, okay, maybe Rovig is a little bit more settled in now. And then George Obina comes off the edge and smashes Rovig when Montana State's down in the red zone. The ball flutters up in the air. Sac State picks it off. Now, the Montana State defense held that ensuing possession. Sac State went 3 and out and punted. But then after that, it was a clinic by the Sac State offense. And Montana State shot itself in the foot a couple other times, too. It wasn't just that pick. They went for it on a 4th down, deep in their own territory. They were on their own 38-yard line, and they went for it, and they ran a swing gate, speed option, jet sweep reverse. I don't even know how to describe it. They put Travis Johnson at quarterback, and then they ran a speed option to the wide side of the field with Logan Jones coming in a fly sweep motion, but it was behind a swinging gate style offensive line. So you have a 4th and short, and you don't even have all your offensive linemen in there. And I think you were trying to draw Sac State off sides or get a first down via a penalty, but then they went through running the play. It was a bad play call, both situationally and the actual play that they actually called. I mean, in my opinion, if you have a 4th and 1 in your own territory, you're going to go for it. Hand the ball to Troy Anderson. Point blank period.
Behind his offensive line.
Exactly. Point blank period. There is no – put 9 tight ends in the game and hand the ball to Troy Anderson. Yeah. That's all. But they didn't do that. They were stopped. Boom, Sac State has a short field. They capitalize. Now all of a sudden it's 7-0. They respond. And it was a little bit of a back and forth in the first half, but Sac State was ahead the whole time. And then in the second half, just complete and utter dominance by the Hornets. And you can say, okay, well, you guys are making too much of this. This was only a 13-point win. Well, it could have been a lot worse. Sac State basically disappeared on offense intentionally in the fourth quarter. They were just trying to run this thing out. And also, Montana State had the ball for most of the fourth quarter as they tried to rally, but they just don't have the big play explosiveness if their run game's not going to get back in this thing.
I mean, they scored a touchdown with 1:41 left in the game. It's a 20-point ball game.
Exactly.
They score with under 2 minutes to go, which is,
Exactly.
But window dressing.
When you look at the stats, I mean, Montana State outgained Sac State in total yards. Deceiving stat, because Montana State gave Sac State 3 different fields of 52 yards or shorter on their touchdowns. So they didn't have the yards to gain. You look at the quarterback statistics. Kevin Thompson, 260 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Tucker Rovig, 262 yards passing and a touchdown. Incomparable, the days that those two guys had. Kevin Thompson was razor sharp, and Tucker Rovig was dull.
23 of 30 compared to 16 of 29. I mean, almost, 75% for Kevin Thompson and just a shade over 50% for Tucker Rovig.
But so much of this is just throw the stats out the window. Just look at the eye test. I mean, Montana State's coverage was really good. Munchie Filer being back in the lineup helped Montana State a lot. But Sac State just put Montana State on a string. And I thought from the second quarter through the end of the third quarter, the middle two quarters, you could just tell every single thing that Sac State had identified as a weakness of Montana State's on both sides of the football. They took it away and exploited it, and they made Montana State look average. We've talked all about how Montana State, the thing that they have going more than any other team in the league, and this is what Jeff Choate has said multiple weeks in a row. He digs his heels in and says, I like my offensive linemen laying on opposing defensive linemen. You guys might want me to throw the ball. I don't care. If we can run it, we're going to run it. Well, against Sac State, they couldn't run it.
That's right.
The rushing yards are also deceiving. Logan Jones gets absolutely destroyed in the backfield of a hit that actually ended up taking him out of the game. But he somehow keeps his feet. It was very similar to the Coy Steele touchdown against Northern Arizona where he got crushed. The defender's laid on the ground. Logan Jones kind of gets his burst, gets upfield for 40 yards, but then he doesn't return to the game after that carry. You take that out, though, they rushed for 100 yards on 37 carries. So they averaged 2.5 yards per carry outside of that 40-yard run. But also, it was the second half. We saw Montana State rush for 244 yards in the second half against Northern Arizona to rally from a deficit. That was not the case in the second half of this game. They rushed for 16 yards on 15 carries in the second half. So if you're going to put the ball in Tucker Rovig's hands and make the Montana State passing game come back and beat you, it ain't happening. And on the other side, Montana State, what have they done so well this year? Stop the run, which they did in the first half. They gave up 18 yards on 12 carries, smothered Elijah Dotson. They were in the backfield all day. I think they had half a dozen tackles for loss in the first half alone. But then Kevin Thompson was 14 of 18 for 140 yards in the first half, very surgical. And in the second half, Sac State adjusts, and they say, okay, we showed you our inside run game, we showed you our outside run game, now we're going to show you our quarterback run game. Gashes Montana State's defense. Kevin Thompson ends up with 75 yards. He had all 75 of those yards on 2 possessions. So it was just kind of like, okay, we see you, we see what you're doing today. We're going to take what you're giving us, and we're going to kill you. And then when Montana State adjusted to that, Kevin Thompson started staring down the safeties and just toying with them with his eyes. And he had no less than 5 throws where he would stare at the safety, stare at the inside linebacker, and as soon as the inside linebacker would bite, he would just drop it over the top, drop it into the seam. Beautiful throws. And the times that Montana State took away that seam, he'd lace one to one of his underneath receivers. I thought the offensive play design by Sac State was as good as I have seen in quite some time. Troy Taylor's offense, absolutely as advertised. And if you got a chance to watch Troy Taylor on the sidelines in this game, Sacramento State's head coach as well as offensive coordinator, he was just having a ball calling his plays because he knew they were one step ahead. And Jeff Choate said that in his press conference today. They just got us on our heels and they just put us on a string, and that's what it was. They out-executed and out-schemed Montana State across the board.
Jeff Choate on the loss to Sacramento State had this to say in the postgame.
Yeah, that was kind of the tail of the tape. I mean, compliments to Sacramento State. I feel like they beat us on both sides of the line of scrimmage, something that we've clearly hung our hat on around here, and our inability to win those short yardage situations was a big factor in the game. And like I said, I think a very good football team today. They executed at a high level. We did not in really any phase, in my opinion, up to our capability.
Tough time getting them off the field on third down?
Yeah, no question. I think that was a huge issue in the game. We got them off schedule a couple of times, and they were a step ahead of us, quite honestly. Every time we played man, they had a little pick route to get a guy open, and every time we played zone, they had the right call. And so you got to compliment them. And I think there were some things that we left out there, certainly, but we were beat by a better team today. There's no question about that. I don't think that's not the issue.
Sacramento State 9 of 13 on third down, 1 of 1. Their only attempt on fourth down, they picked it up. Montana State 4 of 15 on third down. They were 5 of 8 on fourth down, but it's always bad news, almost always bad news, if you're going for it 8 times on fourth down. I mean, it means that you are in positions where you got no choice. And when you're only getting less than a third of your third down conversions and conversely giving up 65% on third down, it's not working for you.
This is what the coaches that across college football now will tell you is that we need a new definition of what equals productivity when it comes to defense rather than talking about yards and stuff like that. Scoring defense is still of the utmost importance. That's obvious. But I think most coaches would tell you, like right now, the Montana Grizzlies are a great example. They're in the bottom 10 teams in the country in passing defense, but they're second in the league in scoring defense because they put a high priority on, first of all, making offenses one-dimensional by smashing against the run. And that's what you got to do when you got Dante Olson because he's a one-man run stopper. But also, Montana then leads the league and is one of the top 10 teams in the country in interceptions, in takeaways. I think every coach would tell you, defensively, here's what we want. We want to get our offense at least 2 more possessions per game than the other team's going to have. So you got to win the turnover margin +2, maybe +3, and you got to win the third downs. If you just look at that stat alone, that stat is way more indicative of how much Sacramento State dominated this game.
Kevin Cassis, he had a very good day, again, statistically, 6 receptions for 119 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
But it was fairly inconsequential ultimately in terms of obviously the way the game went and in general, and really a game that Montana State was not really in for most of. Nonetheless, he had his 2 cents about this game and what happened against Sac State.
Yeah, it's frustrating. That's a good Sacramento State team, and looking at the bright spots, I think we were able to move the ball well, but just in that red zone situations and whatnot, not being able to punch it in. I think that's something that we'll be disappointed in. But yeah, we were able to move the ball at times, and obviously other times we weren't. But trying to see the light, and kind of the darkness that was created today. But a lot of things to improve on. I think, like Coach said, it's a good wake-up call, and it's gonna not be fun not being able to play a game this week. Coming up next week, so we'll live with it, and we'll bounce back.
Listen, Montana State had a couple opportunities. They were first and goal on the 1-yard line
after one of the weirdest calls I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, and
Sac State's got 12 guys on the field, so they called a legal substitution, but that's not a dead ball. It's supposed to be a free play. But because the umpire had his back to the other side because Montana State was actually subbing late, they missed it and stopped the whole thing. Montana State scored a touchdown on that play, gets called off. They get a first and goal from the 1. So you can't necessarily say, the refs really screwed us. You should be able to convert first and goal from the 1, and they didn't. But it was a weird call because it took points off the board.
I will say I was standing right at the goal line where all of that took place. And the whistles, while the play had, just begun, the whistles were blowing to blow that thing dead. And a number of players did stop. But neither the wide receiver nor the cornerback stopped. Tucker Rovig didn't stop, and it looked like a live play when you were watching it on television and so forth. Excuse me, even though in the moment it had clearly been blown dead, whether it should have or not, regardless, it was. But right, you're first and goal at the 1. You have the Centaur. You have this great offensive line. They run the ball once. And by the way, Sacramento State up front, they are legit, okay? They are really, really good. Give credit to the Hornets. They bow up, make a stop. But then they hand the ball off, and it's fumbled. And Montana State recovers it, but, you're not getting in. Then they try and do a quarterback sneak with Tucker Rovig. They can't get the exchange. They fumble that. 2 fumbles and 4 plays on the goal line. Then they finally do give it to Troy Anderson. And the first real criticism probably that I've ever heard from Jeff Choate about it wasn't, too harsh criticism, but he's like, we made this play to run it right behind the offensive line and go straight in. And Troy chose to try and bounce it to the outside, and he got caught and didn't have the space that he needed to get around the corner, and probably didn't need to go around the corner. Anyhow, 4 downs, got to have a touchdown. At that point, they're already down 20, but this is it. There's still plenty of time in the game, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, get stopped, and that was effectively game over. That goal line stand by Sacramento State was it. And when I said earlier, Montana State was never really in a position to be successful in that game, that's an example where they were in a position to be successful. And in fact, the players on the field did not execute the way that they needed to in order to get a touchdown that they needed. Would that have changed the outcome of the game? Unlikely, but possible, at least at that point. And especially with what this team not likes to do, but has shown themselves very capable of doing, of coming back in games and always having a belief. But after that, I think that went away quickly. And again, Sacramento State, they're the best team Montana State's played at the FCS level this season.
I told you this at lunch today, but I thought that this was the most revealing game of any of the 40 games of Jeff Choate that I've covered in terms of Montana State's weaknesses being absolutely pinpointed and absolutely exploited. You said this on the Big Sky Breakdown last week. There's no weaknesses for Montana State. There's a weakness. There is a glaring, bright as the sun weakness. It's undebatable. Everybody in the league knows it. But the double-edged sword of this thing, and the thing that I've been sort of affirming for Jeff Choate and his charges, is that if you can't throw the ball, and everybody knows you can't throw the ball, but you can still run the ball like Montana State has been able to up until this game, the criticism is what it is, but it doesn't matter to you because you are going to play your style of football. You're going to win games. And it fits so well with the mentality that Jeff Choate wants his team to have, which is smack you in the face and keep on coming, keep on fighting, keep on brawling. We're going to brawl until the end of the fourth quarter. You might come out hot like Northern Arizona, but we're not going away. We're going to fight you until the very end of the game. That was the thing that was so crazy, though, is that as Montana State's weaknesses were put on full display, but then also exploited better than anybody else has been able to exploit them this year, Montana State then didn't have the fight. And I thought that was the weirdest part of the game.
Yeah.
Homecoming Saturday, beautiful day. You've announced this $18 million facilities renovation, all the optimism in the world. You got the team that's supposed to be the best team you've played all year. Your coach says so all week long. It's a great opportunity for you as the number 6 team in the country. And then early, you look like exactly that. You're pounding the rock, but you just have to wonder. I thought there were so many different factors. I said on the Big Sky Breakdown last week that you don't seem to see much resentment amongst the Bobcats for the quarterback situation that they currently have. And I'm not saying that turned, but they were just flat after they got down 21-7, and they didn't have that same fight. The defense, Bryce Stirk said it, and we'll hear it in this next segment, but he said that we just were never in the right call. And I don't know if that's just a revelatory thing that he's saying, or if that's just a straight up calling out the coaching staff. It was a weird comment, but it was true. Kevin Thompson, Troy Taylor had the answer every single time Sac State had the ball, but on the other side, the Cats were averaging 1 yard per carry in the second half, and they went away from what they did well. And you could just see the erosion of what had made them so great, because they have not played pretty one time this whole year. They haven't actually played up to their full capability. They play. This is what's so interesting about this team is if you take their 4 best quarters that they've played this year, they are 4 of the best quarters that anybody has played in the country.
Yeah.
Their third quarter against Southeast Missouri State, lights out. They scored 28 points. Their fourth quarter against Northern Arizona, they scored 35 points without throwing the ball. It was pure and utter dominance. But you saw when they can't enact what they believe that they can, the way that they fold. And I thought Jeff Choate said that today. We'll play some of his stuff later on this week. But he said, when things weren't going the way we expected them to go, we had no answer. And that's not okay. We have to figure that out. And so I think that it is a blessing in disguise that they have a bye this week, because I really do think that they have a lot of stuff that they got to look at.
Well, Tucker Rovig in this game, his best day statistically, other than the Norfolk State game, 16-29 for 1 touchdown, and he threw the ball for 181 yards or whatever it was today, or in this football game, or 262. Excuse me, 262 and a touchdown. If he's throwing the ball 29 times, Montana State's probably losing that football game. Just that's just the reality of it. Okay, if he's either has to or is being asked to throw the ball 30 times in a football game, it's not going the way of Montana State.
It's a great point. Kevin Cassis, he had a 30-plus yard catch, he had a 48-yard catch, and he had a 28-yard catch. Those were all in the very end of the game when they were taking shots to try to get themselves back in it. They finally had that turnover down in their red zone where Tyrell Thomas got the pick, and then they threw the deep pass to Cassis right away. But then that was where then they got stopped on the 4th down. That was a huge deflation because they finally got a turnover, they finally hit a shot, and then they can't punch it in. That was kind of the last little wind that they had in their sails. But the other, you're right. The game plan from here on out when teams play Montana State is going to be, hey, let's hold them to 150 yards rushing and let Tucker Rovick throw for 250. Because if it's the other way around, they rush for 250 or 300 and Tucker Rovick throws for 100 and 150, that's Montana State's formula to win. It's the other way around that's the formula to lose, just like you said.
On the other side, we're going to hear from a couple more players. We'll hear from Kevin Thompson, Sac State quarterback, George Obina, their outstanding defensive end who had 2 sacks and 3 TFLs in this game. And we will also hear more from Jeff Choate about the football game that was this past Saturday, homecoming for Montana State. This is Montana Football Hour. It's presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula, and we'll be back right after this. Hey, one thing I want to mention to you, though. I'm telling you this, you got to know. The Silver Slipper, they got everything that you need for football season all year long. They got great food, tasty beverages. They have a great time all the time. Whether you're looking for an affordable family meal or a late-night game of poker, the Silver Slipper has what you're looking for. Right now, Silver Slipper, your football headquarters. A free shuttle to every Grizz home game. And at the bar, 56 televisions. Hello, everywhere to watch whatever sport you want. They got drink specials every single day, a full liquor store, Tarantino's Pizzeria, and the friendliest staff in town. Silver Slipper has all you need to watch all of your favorite games. Visit online, thesilverslipperlounge.com for more info. Stop by today and see why the Silver Slipper is one of Montana's best-kept secrets across the street from Walmart on Brooks.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate. Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice. In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
Get ready to sing, dance, and laugh until your cheeks hurt with the interactive, unforgettable Dueling Pianos show, October 19th at the UC Ballroom. Dueling Pianos is a gala benefiting Montana children, and you can help by purchasing tickets at montanahope.org. Guests will enjoy a lively evening of dueling pianos, hors d'oeuvres, silent auctions, and raffles. All proceeds will benefit the Montana Hope Project and Catholic Social Services of Montana. Kids 10 and under are free. Learn more and purchase tickets at montanahope.org.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. If you loved our season opener, Go Please Go, or even if you missed it but still want to see the rest of the season, you're in luck. Season ticket packages are still on sale for just $70. That's $70 for 3 more innovative and exciting shows, including our production of War of the Worlds in January. Go to montanarep.com to get your tickets today.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news. Suddenly, the Sentinel Spartans are a defensive powerhouse and the champions of Missoula. Behind a salty defensive effort and an offense that continues to roll, Sentinel hammered Hellgate Friday night 44-6. The Spartans allowed a combined 2 first-half touchdowns in wins over Hellgate and Missoula Big Sky this season to earn the outright city crown. Friday, Sentinel allowed just 31 rushing yards and 162 yards of total offense and blanked the Hellgate offense. Cam Lawrence scored a defensive touchdown for the Hellgate Knights' only score. Sentinel star Jackson Lee, he had 158 yards on 17 carries in the first half alone and finished with 3 touchdown runs. The win moves third-ranked Sentinel to 6-1, while Hellgate is 3-3.
The Montana Grizzlies had a bye, but they had a chance to watch two of their upcoming opponents play one another in Bozeman Saturday. Sac State posted a convincing 34-21 victory over number 6 Montana State to snap a 5-game winning streak for the Bobcats. MSU managed just 2.5 yards per carry outside of Logan Jones' 40-yard touchdown run and rushed for just 16 yards on 15 carries in the second half.
The Hornets capitalized on every MSU miscue, from a failed 4th down try in the first quarter that gave Sac a 38-yard field goal attempt to a botched punt that resulted in a shank. Kevin Thompson, he threw for 260 yards and 3 scores.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Welcome back. The Montana Football Hour rolls on Tutel Nuanez, presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Coulter, we got some sound for the people from all sides of this thing. And again, for Grizz fans out there listening, Sacramento State is the forthcoming opponent this next Saturday in Sacramento State. Sac State now 4-0 against teams in the FCS, and they go from unranked at the first team getting votes last week at 26 essentially up to 15.
Yep.
And so they leap into the top 20 in the nation, top 15, and they are really, really good. They are led by a couple guys defensively. Is George Obina. George Obina, number 99, 4 tackles, 3 of them for loss. 2 of those were sacks.
And countless quarterback hurries.
Everything.
He smashed Tucker Rovig on the very first possession of the game, and Tucker Rovig was looking out the corner of his eye for number 99 the whole rest of the game.
Here's Coulter's post-game conversation with the big defensive end from Sacramento State.
You guys got pressure early and often. You had the hit when he threw the pick. Do you feel like you guys rattled him a little bit early, and how are you guys able to get so much pressure?
I mean, it was really just down to our preparation. It comes down to where Coach Thompson puts us in, and he puts us in good position to make plays, and that's really what we emphasize. Just make your plays. That's how it is on defense every time.
Montana State's been one-dimensional on offense, but it hasn't mattered. They've been able to run the ball against everybody. You guys were able to shore up against the run. What was the key to that? How were you guys able to stifle that run game?
Just good preparation. It just comes down to it because I don't really have like an answer for that. It's just we did what we had to on defense. Everybody executed to where everybody executed. Everybody did what they had to, and that's what it really came down to.
You guys rolling right now a little bit. So what's this feel like, just to be 2 ranked teams in a row you guys have defeated?
Honestly, we don't really we've been down. We've been down and we've been down before. We've been up before. We've been down before. So honestly, it doesn't really matter at this point to us. All that stuff is just noise. We're really just focused on us at the moment.
Next week, Montana coming to your house. What do you think of the matchup initially against the Grizz?
So we going into every game thinking we have an opportunity to win it.
That's what I think about that game next week. The same thing I think about every game I play. We're going to come out with a W. Well, they certainly have so far this year.
You know what? The talk about everybody doing their 1/11th their jobs. You know what that sounds like? The Montana of yesteryear. And it makes sense that Craig Paulson, the defensive coordinator for the Grizzlies, 2003 to 2009. I said it on this show many times. Those Grizz teams, they were so lights out defensively, not for anything that they were doing that was complicated schematically. It was straight up just because it was a machine. Everybody was really doing their 1/11th. And it sounds like a cliche, sounds like coach speak, but if you can actually figure out a way to do it, and I think that's been the thing that's eluded Sac State for so long. They've had such great athletes. They just haven't been able to play as a team. George Obina, his responsibilities are simple. Get off the ball as hard as you can, get past the dude in front of you, and kill the quarterback. over and over and over again. And he did it as well as you can do it on Saturday. Again, the stats are even, I mean, 2 sacks is a great day, no doubt. But he was all over the place. He gets off the ball so fast that he was past Montana State's offensive tackles on no less than 5 occasions. He was by him so fast he couldn't even get a sack because the quarterback hadn't dropped back far enough. He was that far behind him. But that flushes the guy, and then all of a sudden you're not going to have an accurate throw. So you're affecting the play just as much even if you don't get the sack. He's an impressive player.
Kevin Thompson, also impressive. 260 yards passing, again, 23 of 30, had 1 interception, but 3 touchdowns throwing. Also rushed for 74 yards, led his team in rushing, and had 2 more touchdowns running the ball. So accounting for 5 total touchdowns, Kevin Thompson. Again, his conversation with Coulter postgame.
First of all, what'd you think of the start? How are you guys able to get out to an early lead? How important was that to having such a good first half?
We came out, obviously we went 3-and-out on the first drive, so that was tough. Missed a throw right there early, but then after that, I think we just executed really well. Offensively, everyone was doing their job. I was getting the ball in the people's hands, and Dot was working hard. So we were just executing at the level that we wanted to execute at for the next 5 drives, and I think it was 5 scores in a row after that. So we were just, doing what we were coached to do and getting the job done.
I think they gave up like 2 yards of carry in the first half, but then you guys really started gashing them, especially with yourself in the run game. What adjustment did you make to run the ball better in the second half?
Yeah, we saw a couple of the Q run plays were working really well with our motions and stuff, and it was kind of throwing them off guard, and we just kept hitting it, just kept calling it, and it was working every time. So we were like, might as well stick with it.
You guys have beat 2 ranked teams in a row now, so how much momentum is involved in this, and how much momentum do you guys hope to carry into a big-time matchup next week?
Winning definitely carries a bit of momentum. We try to flush it once tomorrow starts to start preparing for our next opponent. But I would definitely say you play with a little chip on your shoulder when you're winning, and it feels really good to win. So, but no matter, regardless of what happens, we prepare the same, win or lose. It was a really good team on the field today, and we're going to get back after start preparing tomorrow for Montana. So.
There you go. Kevin Thompson talking about the game for Sacramento State against Montana State, and they were just better in every way on Saturday, and have been better than basically everybody they've played that wasn't an FBS opponent this season. And so that's why they're a top 15 team in the nation. And again, for teams that aren't Montana State, Eastern Washington, maybe Weber, it takes time for people, especially nationally, to give you the respect you deserve, because it doesn't come with any recognition. There doesn't come with any expectation. And this was a team that we thought, okay, well, Troy Taylor and, they got Kevin Thompson coming back, and we'll kind of see what they look like. But, I mean, when I watched the Arizona State, I said, oh my goodness. I mean, this is a legitimately really good football team, Sacramento State. And they have just continued to bear that out week after week, and each test that they have one of the hardest schedules, if not the hardest schedule in all the Big Sky. I mean, they got everybody on the list that they got to play this year, and so it just it goes from hard to hard, going from Montana State to the Grizzlies, but they keep answering the call across the board. And it's really fun to watch them play.
They basically played 3 Big Sky games, even though that was only their second official league game, because they played Northern Colorado in a league game. I was just doing some math right there. Their average score in those 3 games is 44-16. So they're wailing on people. Yep. And they've beat 2 straight ranked opponents. Eastern Washington, I know who's down. But Montana State, who's the number 6 team in the country, that's the highest ranked team Sac State's ever beat since they added football in 1954. First time they've won in Bobcat Stadium since 1991. So there's no 2 ways to splice it. It's a historic win for Sac State.
Jeff Choate talking about Kevin Thompson running the football.
Played the run pretty well in the first half. In the second half, they got a little bit of QB run going.
Yeah.
Did you want the ball in his hands?
Well, I think they did a nice job of that. The QB run into the boundary was something that was giving us some problems, and there were some formational things that they did to us, and some things in terms of alignment that we needed to clean up. And we actually had a couple pressures called into it and didn't execute them a couple times. And so that's just something we've got to do better as coaches, is making sure that we have answers for that. It's funny because that's now our resume, so we're going to see those things again.
Elijah Dotson, Bobby Hauck said today he thinks is the best running back in the conference.
He is.
High praise.
Yep.
He had 16 rushes for 37 yards in this football game. 28 net, had a 9-yard loss in there. The Montana State Bobcats defense loaded in, keyed in, and hammered Elijah Dotson and were spectacular. And then the Sacramento State offense and the play caller said, well, we got a pretty good athlete at quarterback. let's see if they'll contain him. And they couldn't. 11 rushes, 74 yards, 6.7 per carry, 2 touchdowns. And it doesn't matter who does it as long as you do it. And Sacramento State found the answer. Montana State was good enough, talented enough, strong enough to shut down a guy who maybe is the most talented running back in the conference, Elijah Dotson. But it didn't matter because the answers were always there for the Hornets.
I thought that was a real revelatory statement by Jeff Choate, too. He said, we've been weak and we know we're weak against the quarterback run game to the boundary. So that's the quarterback run game to the short side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
It takes so much confidence as an offensive play caller to know that's a weakness and not exploit it until after halftime and then exploit it to its fullest to put the game away. That's elite coaching by Troy Taylor. To keep it in your back, but they didn't run Kevin Thompson one time in the first half. Not one time did they have a designed run. Actually, maybe they had one quarterback dive. But regardless, they did not run the zone read or the quarterback power or the speed option or any of that stuff that they were running, and then they just gashed him. I mean, he had on that first drive of the second half, I think he had 38 rushing yards in a row. He had multiple 8, 10, 14-yard carries. Bam, 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 gashing them. And then as soon as you start peaking, then all of a sudden they come back with something else. Their offense is one thing leads to the next. It's such a sweet offense to watch.
They also are really tough to get a pass rush on because they throw the ball so quick. That was the question of Jeff Choate. Why were you not able to really establish a pass rush the way that you would want to?
Well, they do a great job getting the ball out fast, and a lot of their stuff is RPO, and so that was one of the things they executed at a really high level. Every time we went into a dime package, those guys just start sneak down thinking they had to defend the run, and he did a nice job of riding the RPO, and he was very accurate when he threw the ball. When we blitzed, it was mostly run down pressure to try to get them off schedule, and really they don't give up a lot of sacks anyway. I mean, that's something because they do get the ball out so quickly. It's a little bit of an exercise in futility, sometimes bringing a lot of pressure against this group.
So there you go. There's Jeff Choate again, talking about the game in general. And Coulter, we've said this before, but it's not a problem until it's a problem. It doesn't bite you until you're bitten by it. Well, Montana State, look, this is not by any stretch of the imagination all on or the fault of any one player, the least of which was the quarterback. Again, Tucker Rovig, well, not great, was also, had moments and threw some nice balls in there at times and did, again, had 260 yards in passing, which is, far more than you would have probably guessed coming into this football game. But this was kind of all the way around, and it was really, really surprising to me that a team, I don't know, it felt, let's say it like this. Montana State is not afraid of anybody. They weren't afraid of Sacramento State.
No.
But they knew, I think, and believed how good Sacramento State was.
Yep.
And it didn't seem like they rose to that occasion. They shrunk from that occasion.
Right.
And to do it at homecoming.
Right.
When you saw with the announcement happening in the quarter of the facilities upgrade and everything like that, it was just the team on the field did not match the moment, and I'm not sure why. Like I'm really not. I mean, we can analyze this all the time, but at the end of the day, I'm surprised at that. I really am.
I think it's because when you look at Sac State just on paper and what they have been, you look at 50-0 Northern Colorado, 48-27 against East Washington. This slick quarterback who's a FBS drop down, the fastest running back in the league. You think, okay, this team is just going to be glitz and glamour and speed and style. And that's not what Sac State was. They are all that, but they're also outstanding on the defensive line and outstanding on the offensive line. They haven't allowed a sack in 4 FCS games.
Yeah.
They've only given up 6 sacks this whole year, and 4 of them were to Arizona State, who, oh, by the way, is like the number 14 team in the country right now in the FBS.
Yeah.
So I think that was the startling part. That's the thing. Montana State, they know that they might be at a deficit when it comes to all the shiny factors of college football. They're not going to have the quarterback that's going to throw the ball all over the field. They're not going to be able to get into a back-and-forth shootout. But they know that when they're going back and forth with you, they're just going to pummel you into submission, and they couldn't do that to Sac State, and I think that made them completely fade. I think they just didn't know what to do. I mean, when you go and you just hit somebody in the face as hard as you can, and they don't flinch, and they just keep coming back at you, and you're not used to that, it's like Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, right? As soon as Buster Douglas starts fighting back, you're like, whoa. I'm supposed to knock you out in the second round. How are you still standing?
Right.
That's exactly what it was. I think it's a great learning experience for the Cats because if they can figure out that as the season progresses and they play better teams, especially the last 2 games of the year, they're going to have to be able to do more than just get in a bar fight.
Take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll hear from Bryce Sterk, the Montana State outstanding defensive end on the game, and about that very thing you're talking about, trying to get pressure and not being able to because of the quick pass and the great offensive line as well. It's the Montana Football Hour presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. Right now, get 0% for 72 months on the 2019 Ford F-150. The Ford F-150 makes tough tasks look easy, whether it's working on the job or heading out on a weekend of recreation. Also available is the all-new 2019 Ford Ranger at 1.9% for 60 months. The all-new Ranger, tested under more extreme conditions than you're ever likely to encounter. Set a date for your next adventure. Your Ranger is ready to get you there. Lithia Ford, across from Super Walmart on Brooks. They have a huge inventory of new and used cars and trucks. Visit LithiaFordMissoula.com for more information. Search new and used inventory, financing specials, and get yourself in a Lithia Ford today. Lithia Ford is an official sponsor of the Montana Grizzlies and Tutel Nuanez Montana Football Hour.
We've combined quality ingredients with home-style recipes to create the Montana Club's fall comfort food menu. Savor our tender boneless beef short rib or caramelized brandy apple pork shank. Dig into our classic savory chicken pot pie or fall for our zesty skillet lasagna. Top things off with our creamy pumpkin skillet a la mode. Scratch-made comfort food that's as real as it gets. Served 11:30 to close at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hey everybody, here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
Get ready to sing, dance, and laugh until your cheeks hurt with the interactive, unforgettable Dueling Pianos show, October 19th at the UC Ballroom. Dueling Pianos is a gala benefiting Montana children, and you can help by purchasing tickets at montanahope.org. Guests will enjoy a lively evening of dueling pianos, hors d'oeuvres, silent auctions, and raffles. All proceeds will benefit the Montana Hope Project and Catholic Social Services of Montana. Kids 10 and under are free. Learn more and purchase tickets at montanahope.org.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. If you loved our season opener, Go Please Go, or even if you missed it but still want to see the rest of the season, you're in luck. Season ticket packages are still on sale for just $70. That's $70 for 3 more innovative and exciting shows, including our production of War of the Worlds in January. Go to montanarep.com to get your tickets today.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
KurtzPolaris.com. This is the Montana Football Hour. Yes, it is. Presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. Good to have all of you along. Colter, let's just hear a couple of quick comments from Bryce Sterk as we get ready to wrap up the Montana Football Hour and talk about this team, this game, and then also a look ahead for Montana and what they can expect in store. Here you go, Bryce Sterk, Montana State defensive end, talking about the quick pass from Kevin Thompson.
Well, the quick pass definitely is, it's hard to get a pass rush there, so you can't really affect the quarterback, and he's most of their offense because he'd do quick passes and then he'd do Q run, and it'd all kind of be based off the run too, so off of 33. So I think, there's nothing really specific or different that they did. It's just they do the stuff they do well.
Sacramento State also, as we mentioned, 9 of 13 on third down. The question to Bryce Sterk, why were they so successful on third down?
They would, I think, from what I saw, is they'd throw a seam route or something where we weren't covered because we'd be in the wrong defense. And I think they were just, like Coach Choate said, they're just one step ahead of us schematically.
I mean, by the way, Jeff Choate today at his press conference, we'll hear more from him, from that tomorrow and throughout the week. He was very candid and honest about this, about what essentially what Bryce Sterk said, that they were in the wrong defense, that they got.
Choate is not trying to sugarcoat this for a second. After the game, he said, we got outcoached, we got outplayed, we did not play well. He said, the only positive from this game is I thought Tucker Virovic operated the 2-minute drill at the end of the game. They got us in there, and we got a touchdown. Well, other than that, no bright spot.
Yeah.
And like Kevin Katz said, we're trying to find some light in the darkness. That's what his direct quote was. I mean, there's no mistaking it. These guys were very disappointed to lose this game.
Let me ask you this, though, Colter, because there's always two or more explanations for these things. We talk about this through the lens of Montana State because here we are in Montana. But also, I mean, Sacramento State is a really, really good football team.
Yes,
and we talked about this being a barometer for both of these teams, really. Montana State did not play well. And so that is, that's on them. But then you say, well, is Sacramento State really, 14 or 20 points better than what Montana State is? Probably not. But also, if Montana State plays really well and has it loaded up and ready to go, I'm not convinced that Sacramento State doesn't win that football game anyway.
Well, because so much of this league is about matchups, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why transitioning into this Grizz game this week is going to be fascinating. Because Sac State's the best run defense in the conference. They're the only team in the league that was giving up less than 100 yards rushing per game. That's what they do. They sell out against the run, and they try to make you one-dimensional by throwing the ball. They also are the best pass rushing team in the league. They led the league in sacks coming into this thing because they get you in long yardage situations. It's the same formula they used 2 years ago when they led the country in sacks. That's the other thing that people got to remember. Sac State was really good 2 years ago.
Right.
Then last year they were just decimated by injuries. Them being good was also completely off the Big Sky radar because the Big Sky radar runs solely through Montana. And that year they played Eastern Washington in a non-conference game, and they did not play Montana or Montana State. So their 7 wins were just in front of no one because they were never on any sort of television. They're not getting any sort of anything. But they're a good team, and they still have the same formula: stuff the run, rush the passer. But then on the other side, their RPO stuff. Montana State, their one weakness right now is in the secondary. And if you got a quarterback that gets the ball out quick, like Kevin Thompson did, just like you heard Bryce Sterk say there, when Montana State's pass rush isn't working, then all of a sudden their defense isn't nearly as dangerous as it is when they have a chance to get after the quarterback. And so if there's a bad matchup, it's going to be so interesting to see this matchup this week because I really have no impression of what Sac State's secondary is like.
Right.
Because Montana State did not really test it.
Right.
Going to get tested Saturday with Dalton Sneed, Sammy Akem, and Samori Torre. And on the other side, Montana's defense is so much different than Montana State's. Will Kevin Thompson be able to just pick his spot and just throw wherever he wants? I'm not sure. It's going to be fascinating to see. To me, it seems like one of the worst matchups in the league for the Cats is Sac State. It's a better matchup for the Grizz just because the Grizz, they're so much less one-dimensional on offense.
Yeah. They are, in fact, two-dimensional.
All dimensions.
Both of the dimensions, they've got them. No doubt. Well, it's probably a good time for the bye for Montana State. Again, something that we have not covered in this, but the injury, especially with the running back situation at Montana State, is real, and it hasn't really shown up because we've had all these different guys. Logan Jones, just shows up and just goes for 100 yards, and now all of a sudden he gets hurt. and on down the list it goes. But Isaiah Fosse had one run in this football game. He showed up for one play, carried it once, didn't gain any yards, never came back into the football game. Troy Anderson, he actually had 10 rushes for only 44 yards in this game, but he's still not 100%. There's a lot of guys that they can get well, get healthy, and then head into the back half of this season with all systems go, returning again for this one. Munchie Filer, a huge help to them in that back end. Stu Tell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. This has been the Montana Football Hour presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. We'll take a break. On the other side, the NFL. Crazy week in Week 6. Bunch of stuff going on. Marcus Mariota getting benched. Don't worry, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that, but a little bit maybe. NFL right after this. Hey, at the Silver Slipper, it's all about great food, tasty beverages, and their urge to have a good time. Whether you're looking for an affordable family meal or a late-night game of poker, the Silver Slipper has what you're looking for. Right now, Silver Slipper is your football headquarters. They have a free shuttle to every home Grizz game, 56 televisions to watch sports on, drink specials every single day, a full liquor store, Tarantino's Pizzeria, and the friendliest staff in town. Silver Slipper has all you need to watch your favorite games. So the Silver Slipper online, silverslipperlounge.com. For more information, stop by today and see why. The Silver Slipper is one of Montana's best-kept secrets across the street from Walmart on Brooks.
It happens. You're positive you put your bank card back in your wallet, but the next time you need it, it's missing. Avoid the panic and take control with the MyCard app and debit card from Farmer State Bank. Our app lets you control your debit card and securely turn it off right from your phone. Safe, secure, instant. MyCard is available only at Farmer State Bank. Ask about it at any of our 9 locations or learn more at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, member FDIC.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up, pump it up.
When you need a little extra brain power, head over to Town Pump. They've got what you need. 5-hour energy shots, 3 for $5. Plus Old Trapper 10-ounce jerky, only $10.99. Get energized at your Town Pump right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
Get ready to sing, dance, and laugh until your cheeks hurt with the interactive, unforgettable Dueling Pianos show, October 19th at the UC Ballroom. Dueling Pianos is a gala benefiting Montana children, and you can help by purchasing tickets at montanahope.org. Guests will enjoy a lively evening of dueling pianos, hors d'oeuvres, silent auctions, and raffles. All proceeds will benefit the Montana Hope Project and Catholic Social Services of Montana. Kids 10 and under are free. Learn more and purchase tickets at montanahope.org.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark Fork Law Offices. Our Missoula firm specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. There are many unknowns when injured or disabled. The other side is fighting hard. You should too. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hi, how are you? Happy Monday. It's Stu Tell Nuanez. Here's some sports news. Suddenly, the Sentinel Spartans are a defensive powerhouse and the champions of Missoula. Behind a salty defensive effort and an offense that continues to roll, Sentinel rolled up Hellgate 44-6 Friday night at Missoula County Public Stadium. The Spartans allowed a combined 2 touchdowns when the wins over Hellgate and Missoula Big Sky to earn the outright city crown. Friday, Sentinel allowed just 31 rush yards, 162 total yards, and no Hellgate touchdowns on offense. Cam Lawrence scored the only defensive touchdown of the game for Hellgate. It was a defensive score. Sentinel star Jackson Lee had 158 yards on 17 carries in the first half and finished with 3 touchdown runs. The Spartans are now 6-1, while Hellgate drops to 3-3.
1 first down in the first half each for Big Sky and Hellgate versus Sentinel. Ridiculous. The Montana Grizzlies, they had a bye last week, but they had a chance to watch 2 upcoming opponents play one another at Bobcat Stadium. Sac State posted a convincing 34-21 victory over number 6 Montana State to snap a 5-game winning streak for the Bobcats. First win in Bozeman for Sac State since 1991.
The Hornets capitalized on every MSU miscue seemingly, from a failed 4th down conversion that gave Sac State a 38-yard field goal to a botched punt that resulted in a shank. Sac State quarterback Kevin Thompson, 260 yards and 3 touchdowns, also rushed for 2 scores.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Week 6 wraps up tonight from Lambeau Field, the cathedral of football. Makes me happy anyways. Tutel Nuanez broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the show in the first hour, check it out on the podcast. Tutel Nuanez podcast, available where all of your podcasts are found. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can get Tutel Nuanez there. The podcast available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. Coulter, the NFL this past Sunday was a very interesting one. Let's talk a little bit about the Seattle Seahawks, just because, well, we carry the Seahawks games. I know we had a little bit of technical trouble with that on Sunday. We'll get that resolved. But the Seattle Seahawks beating the Cleveland Browns on Sunday in a really hard-fought game. I talked about this off the top. The loss of Will Dissly in this game is just, I don't know, man. I hate this stuff, especially when you're talking about a guy who, kind of came on the scene, a 4th-round draft pick, I think,
round, yep.
that he was, and that's good. I mean, obviously, it's really good, but a mid-round guy who's suddenly just starting to carve a name out for himself, getting, having some success on the field, really helping this team tremendously.
Oh, absolutely.
And then now a ruptured Achilles, and I mean, once that is officially confirmed, that's out for the year at least, and that's just so disappointing. But the game in total, Seattle a 32-28 win, and a game that they had to come back in. They were down in this game, was 14-6 the end of the first quarter, and went in down 2 at the break at halftime. But Seattle did what they did, and they come back. They score 14 points in the second half, and they hold on, and they do whatever they have to do to win. And once again, Baker Mayfield started off actually really strong in this game, had a couple of touchdown passes, or 1 touchdown pass early, and looked very, very good. 22 of 37 for 249 yards, but then the interception bug starts happening again, and this is a kid who continues to throw the ball to the other team. And again, I think there's reasons outside of just Baker that's happening. It's not just on him. It's on a lot of entities and parts of this, but it certainly is on him as well. And on the other side of this thing, Russell Wilson, 6 games in, 0 picks, Coulter. Not once has he turned the football over. And by the way, I mean, let's be honest, man. He doesn't have anything like the outside weapons that Baker Mayfield's got. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Nick Chubb. I mean, Chris Carson's great. He's not Nick Chubb. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they're great. Tyler Lockett, except like elite route runner, all that stuff. Neither of them are Odell Beckham or Jarvis Landry, for that matter. And yet, Russell Wilson just does what he does, delivers the football, hugely efficient, 295 yards passing and 170 yards total rushing in this game. Chris Carson, 24 carries, 124 yards and a score. He had a big day, and the Seahawks just do what they have to do to keep on winning football games. They're 5-1, and they are rolling in the NFC West. How interesting is this with the undefeated San Francisco 49ers beating the Rams yesterday? So now the Rams have lost 3 straight, including 2 straight to divisional opponents. And it's the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers who are running headlong into each other for a couple of showdowns that might determine this division.
The NFL, baby.
The NFL.
Do you find it interesting or coincidental that Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham played together in college and were not nearly as productive as they should have been as a duo, and then were way more productive individually apart, and now we're back together and are nowhere near what we thought?
So far, I find it incidental. I mean, do we know that they were underproductive in college?
Yes. When's the last time LSU could throw the ball? LSU won the national championship the last time they could throw the ball. Until right now. But I mean, Matt Flynn was the greatest LSU quarterback of the 21st century until Joe Burrows right now.
Okay.
And when LSU can even come close to kind of throwing the ball, they are there.
How
they are right
great
there.
was that game against Florida on Saturday night, by the way?
LSU is really, really, really good, man. I mean, this Joe Burrows kid, he's so strange. Did you watch the post-game interview?
Yeah.
He just Maria, what's her last name? She's greatest.
Maria Taylor.
Taylor, greatest sideline reporter in the game right now.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. But he just stared at her.
Yeah.
There's no nerves or anything. He's like soulless. He's just like having fun, throwing touchdowns. Ask me another one, Maria.
Right.
He's fascinating.
Well, this is a kid
he's a stud, though.
Was recruited to play quarterback at Ohio State for Urban Meyer. Was there from the state of Ohio, went to Ohio State, and narrowly. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Lost a quarterback competition, and then, said, okay, well, I'm going to go try my hand elsewhere. And all of a sudden, LSU gets a quarterback. And Florida, whose defense is next level good, got shredded by LSU. I mean, if they could do that to Florida, I mean, I love it, man. I love the LSU team. And now the double overtime loss by Georgia. And you're sitting there, how do we get into the FBS now? Look at us. We're doing a college segment.
Because we're talking about Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. I think... First of all, credit to the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are rolling right now. I think that the sense of belief is tremendous. I think that you're the king until the king is dethroned. And Tom Brady is the king. But with Drew Brees out with a hand injury and Aaron Rodgers trying to refine himself or whatever he's doing with his temper tantrums on the sidelines for 2 straight years, Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in the NFC. And he might be the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I mean, he's ridiculous. He is carrying the day more than he's carrying the load of his team more than anybody in the league right now.
There's 2 undefeated teams right now. Okay, that's all. The Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. In the NFC East, the Cowboys and the Eagles are both 3-3. The Eagles got rolled up by Minnesota. Hats off to you. You were right. I was wrong on that one. The Cowboys lose to the Jets, give the Jets their first win, and all of a sudden, the seat's getting hot again underneath Jason Garrett. But in any case, you got that's an awful division top to bottom right now if both the Cowboys and Eagles are just going to be okay. Because the Giants and the Washington Redskins are terrible. They're awful football teams. And so I don't know what you do there. The Saints are clearly the best team in the NFC South. Carolina, they're 4-2. They come off a win over Tampa Bay. But, I mean, give me the Saints all day, and they're not even doing this with Drew Brees right now. They're going to win that division. And I think that you get 2 teams coming out of both the West and the North in the NFC into the playoffs. And you got Green Bay with Detroit tonight, and then in San Francisco and Seattle, 10-1. Their combined records right now. The Los Angeles Rams dropped to 3-3. Aqib Talib goes on the IR today with a rib injury. He's out, and I think you're just starting to see some of these teams start to catch up. And Coulter, I did say this on Friday, and I when I watched this game, saw what was going on, I found this to be evident all over the place. Kyle Shanahan had something for McVay on Sunday. Okay, that's the boy wonder over here. Well, guess what? I have some pretty good coaching lineage myself. Thank you very much. I actually do know what it is that I'm up to over here with the San Francisco 49ers. And by the way, don't look now. That Niners defense is the real deal. I mean, that's the real deal. San Francisco 49ers defense. So these are two teams that are going to be great. Here's my one issue with the Seattle Seahawks. They keep winning because they're getting elite play out of Russell Wilson. And I think they're going to continue to get elite play out of Russell Wilson because he's an elite player. But they do not have the collection of talent that the best teams have. They don't have anywhere like the talent that New Orleans has, and of course that would be their one loss. But I don't know that they have the talent across the board to match up with, even a team, the best teams in the NFC North, the Packers or the Vikings, something like that. If they were to play those teams, they'd really be outmatched. Now, I think Pete Carroll is an X factor because I think he just knows how to do it. He knows how to get his guys up, and they just buy it from him, man. They really do. And the sense of belief that Seattle seemingly seems, has year in and year out it's more than you can't quantify it, and so people don't want to talk about it, but it's as real as a 100-yard rushing day. Okay? I mean, that is as important a factor as you could possibly have for a football team. And by the way, they are talented. They're a good team. They're just not as talented, I think, as some of these other teams. And the question is, how much can Russell Wilson continue to make up for that gap by being that much better than the opponents they play? So far, it's good. But I'm worried that when they play the best teams, that they're going to get exposed.
That's part of it, too, right? Is that coming into this, the schedule on paper didn't look as weak as now it looks like it is now. You beat the Bengals by 1. The Bengals suck. Did they win on Sunday, or are they still winless? They're winless. Yeah. So, I mean, they're one of the 3 worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
You beat them by 1. The Steelers, nowhere close to what they were for forever. You beat them by 2. The Saints, you lost. And the 6-point deficit was a lot closer than the game actually was. Yes. You were getting...
Didn't they score a touchdown on the last play of the game?
Yeah, and you were getting boat... Will Dissly did, in fact. They were getting boat raced in that game. They beat Cardinals. You should. That's one of the 5 worst teams in the league.
The Cardinals come around a little bit.
They're still going to be a 4 or 5 win team, though.
We'll see.
If you're the Seahawks, you got to win that game. Straight up.
Well, sure. And they did. Barely.
The Rams, nowhere close to what we thought they were going to be.
Not barely, 27-10. Sorry, they barely beat the Rams.
The Rams, nowhere close to where we thought we were going to be, and it took a missed kick from the previously greatest kicker in the world for that to happen. And then you beat a not very good Browns team by 4. So, I mean, credit where credit's due. They are 5-1, but do they actually have a quality win? I would say the Rams is a quality win, but it's not going to be as quality as beating a 13-win Rams team from a year ago, and everybody else not playoff teams. So we'll see, because the Ravens are pretty good. They're probably a borderline playoff team. The Falcons are terrible. The
Ravens are 100% a playoff team.
Yeah, but then you look at the rest of their schedule. They have a chance to get rolling a little bit still.
Falcons, Bucks, and then they play the 49ers and Eagles and Vikings. That's the stretch.
49ers, Eagles, Vikings, Rams, Panthers. Even with the Panthers are still pretty good, and the Rams in LA is going to be a tough game
for sure.
And then they got to play the Niners again at the end of the year as well. So they could front end this thing and get to 6 or 7 or 8 wins, and then they might have a tough stretch. But I've come around the Seahawks just because of the way that they've played early. They're probably going to make the playoffs.
And the other thing too is you can go. I mean, you can spin it however you want to spin it. When you talk about a 1-point win against the Bengals, a 2-point win against the Ben Roethlisberger less Pittsburgh Steelers, and so on and so on, and I buy a lot of that. But also, what do we talk about in the NBA or in the NFL all the time? I mean, the margins are so thin, man, and the fact that they win. And by the way, have won on the road traveling east, which they almost never do. I mean, winning in Pittsburgh, winning in Cleveland. I mean, I've seen this team lose to the 27th best team in the NFL by 3 touchdowns because they had to go 3 time zones away and for some reason just could not get off the plane. So, I give them a lot of credit, but you're right. There is a lot to learn still about Seattle. That's the point. I mean, if you're 5-1, you're 5-1, but there's still a lot to learn about this team. And frankly, the same can be said for the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers' best win was against this same Rams team that now all of a sudden everybody's questioning. So when San Francisco plays Seattle, is it going to be as much of a test, a barometer for the 49ers as it's going to be for the Seattle Seahawks? Coulter, Marcus Mariota benched on Sunday in favor of Ryan Tannehill. Vrabel is apparently going to be making a quarterback decision for the immediate future today. Tennessee just was just utterly blown out off when they were on offense. And in fact, I think they did not score. I mean, I think 16-0 was the final score of this football game on Sunday. Denver finally got a couple of wins. And the Broncos, to me, Coulter, are a very intriguing team because they're, what are they, 2-4, I think right now the Denver Broncos are. But they had two losses. The loss to the Bears is one that's going to irk all the Broncos fans out there just because of the way that game went, and they're feeling, that they had it robbed from them, taken from them. But they also had another 1-point loss or 2-point loss to the Jaguars, who drove down the field. And you got to give Jacksonville credit, or maybe blame Denver for not making a stop. But they've now won their last two against an awful Chargers team and against an anemic Titans team that couldn't score against them. But they are, a whisper away from being 4-2. And all of a sudden, when you start to see a little bit of, the Chargers, who we thought were going to be good, are awful. That was unwatchable last night. And I want to talk about that with you in a moment as well. But all of a sudden, Kansas City's lost a couple straight and doesn't look anything like the juggernaut that they were. Now, Kansas City still, to me, is the best team in this division. But Denver, who I thought was done 2 weeks ago, is back alive. They are – the defense is rolling. They have held their opponents to 13 points combined in 2 weeks of football. That's unheard of in the NFL. I don't care who it is that you're playing. And, they have an opportunity against the Chiefs this week on Thursday night to all of a sudden, if they beat the Chiefs and the Chiefs are a 3-loss team and Denver's 3-4, it's on till the end of the season. This is a huge game for Denver. Denver is not as good as the Chiefs are, period. But all of a sudden, there's intrigue to this game that I just never thought was going to be there going back even just 14 days.
They had to have it last night if you're the Broncos.
Had to.
At home.
Had to have it.
But also, it was a matchup advantage big time, because you mentioned to me, I said, what's going on with the Chargers? You said their offensive line's terrible. Well, if you have a terrible offensive line going against that defensive line, you are in for a long evening. And that's what happened last night.
Well, that was against Pittsburgh last night with the Chargers. Yeah, 2 weeks ago they beat the Chargers against that offensive line. And then the Titans yesterday. Right.
And the Titans, I don't know, man. I don't know where I'm at with the Titans.
I'm off the Titans because we were both like, hey, okay. And now all of a sudden you're benching quarterbacks, and that's just, that's not where you want to be 6 weeks into the thing by any stretch. Sutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. I wanted to ask you this, Coulter, though, because you watch offensive line play. You watch defense, the lines, okay, offensive defense. I don't recall a time in which at the NFL there has been such a giant breadth between the best and worst offensive lines.
Right.
And I think with the Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals and maybe one or two others, Miami, I'm seeing the worst collection of starting groups at offensive line that I have ever seen in the NFL taken collectively. And there's some elite offensive lines as well. But it is bizarre to me. Like, the lines, if you were a bad offensive line, it would be a struggle. And it's always going to be a struggle. But, you figure it out. You'd get, you'd have a couple of plays that would work. You'd score some points or whatever. You just in general weren't going to be effective. I'm watching 5 guys get beaten flat out every single play, game after game after game. I mean, Phillip Rivers running for his life. He should retire today. Just be done with it. Go home to your family, okay? Andy Dalton, I mean, it's remarkable that he's on the field. I'm not kidding. I mean, they are absolutely, they're not NFL players. These collections of guys, they just aren't. And it is stunning how bad some of these offensive lines are. And maybe, again, it's a credit because the defensive line has had such emphasis put on it to get after the quarterback that maybe you're starting to see that trend really elevate, and the skill is on that side. But we know how important offensive line play is, and that's never been a secret. And I think just about every football guy is going to tell you that's where it starts. You got to be great up front. And if you're not, you got no chance. And guess what? There's some teams out there that got no chance. And I've never seen it like this before.
The Seattle Seahawks are the best example in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks lost Marshawn Lynch, Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, all their star offensive players. They have no headlining household name offensive players besides their quarterback. Why are they still functioning at a high level offensively? Because they fixed their offensive line.
Yeah,
when they had all those guys and a bad offensive line, Russell Wilson was running for his life, and it didn't matter. Now they have a good offensive line. I would actually say one of the better offensive lines.
They've been a little bit dinged up, but they're obviously far improved from what they were, and are one of the better offensive lines. I don't know if they're a top 5 offensive line, but they're probably a top 10 offensive line in the NFL right now.
Why did Andrew Luck retire? Because of 4 years ago when they had no offensive line, he's getting just destroyed.
His spleen was being bruised.
And so then all of a sudden they draft and sign and fortify their offensive line, and now they don't have Andrew Luck, and what can they still do?
Whatever
operate
they want.
offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, Marlon Mack looks like one of the best running backs in the league. Is he really? I'm not sure. I mean, Sean Michael Dugar on this show, our 12 for the 12 segment every Friday, he said that Chris Carson is a top 7 running back. I don't know. Is he? He might be, but he's running behind a really good offensive line. Marlon Mack, production-wise, is a top 5 running back in the league. Is he, though, or does he have just a great offensive line? How many guys could be Marlon Mack, and you just put him behind that offensive line, and he thrives? I mean, name the worst teams in the league right now.
Washington, Miami, Cincinnati.
Yep.
I don't know.
Probably the Jets.
Yeah.
Probably the Chargers. Right?
The Chargers looked awful.
Right?
Man. They really
Those
did.
are the 5 worst offensive lines in the football.
Yeah.
They are.
Right. I mean, it's not not a secret. It's not a secret. But I guess what is remarkable is that when you know that, like, I understand that you can't get all 5 of the top, 15 linemen on your own football team. Okay, everybody's trying to get these guys and so forth, but you got to have 1 or 2 guys. If you don't have a single offensive lineman on your team who's one of the top 60 in the league, I mean, go home.
When's the last time the Jets were good? When they had Nick Mangold and Brigashaw Ferguson.
When Rex Ryan was scoring.
You could go to the AFC Championships. You could go to the AFC Championship game with freaking Mark Sanchez if you have a good offensive line. You can go to the NFC, I guess, one step away from the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum if you got a good offensive line. What happens when that goes away, though? It's so crazy how it impacts the careers of everybody.
Right.
Was Priest Holmes actually that good? He's pretty good. But the Chiefs had a dynamite offensive line when he was playing for them. So dynamite that Priest Holmes washed, Larry Johnson inserted 1,700 yards over and over and over again.
I mean, yeah.
It's all down the line. Like, think about all these quarterbacks. Like, if some of these young quarterbacks would have had good offensive lines, how would they develop?
Right.
I mean, David Carr steps in with the Texans and gets sacked 150 times in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's 70-plus times 2 years in a row. Well, of course he can't get through his reads. He's trying not to die. So I don't know, man. I think it's truly the simplest way to fix your football team.
Yeah.
And I think that you see. I mean, the Vikings are another great example. The Vikings had a great offensive line, and then Tony Sperano, their offensive line coach, dies, and they decide to not re-up with Phil Lodeholt, their big right tackle, and they don't re-up with Jonathan Sullivan, one of the best centers in the league, and they roll with a bunch of young guys. And then what happens? Even with Captain Kirk and everybody, they're not good. So then what do they do this year? They sign 2 veteran, not elite, but like veteran interior guys, and they draft the best center on the board. And now all of a sudden you got 3 starting quality. It's like you said, you don't have to have all pro guys. You just got to have dudes who are good enough to like play. You can't, and that's the other thing is sometimes when you do try to fortify it, it's going to take a couple years too. Like the Broncos went through this a couple years ago. They drafted tackles with their first round pick 2 years in a row. Well, Garrett Bowles, their left tackle, he's got all the potential in the world, but he's going to get straight worn out when he's a rookie. It just point blank. It's not that you can't just step in and do it. The guys that can, like Quentin Nelson, that kid from Notre Dame, plays for the Colts. That is a rare dude.
That's Hall of Fame.
Right. If you can straight do it right out of college, it's just a whole different deal.
Tonight, Coulter, the Green Bay Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. Monday Night Football. Green Bay 4-1, coming off what looked like a really good win where they just ran all over the Dallas Cowboys, but then the Cowboys, trending down.
Stealing signals, baby. Prosser High School.
But nonetheless, Green Bay 4-1. Green Bay actually is a team that I identify with the Seattle Seahawks, where they're playing really well. They have an elite quarterback. Aaron Rodgers not playing nearly as well as Russell Wilson is. Nobody is.
Nope.
But they're good. They do have a good offensive line in Green Bay, really good.
Line.
And
they have elite guys.
Yeah,
they have two elite guys.
And their defense has been, with the exception of one game, really good as well. But I'm not sure that they are actually as good. Like, I'm waiting for them to, when they go up against the best teams around.
Are the Lions one of the best teams? No, they're not.
I don't. But what I do like,
they're better than you think.
They already beat Minnesota. That's big time. But the Lions 2-1-1. They of course tied Week 1 with the Cardinals. They beat the Chargers 13-10, which now looks like a meh. Then they did beat the Eagles, which I thought was an upset in Philadelphia. They lose to the Chiefs, but just by 4 points. So this is a team that hasn't had a game decided by more than 4. They had a 4-point loss, 2 3-point wins, and a tie. They've been just in and close with every football game, but they're 2-1-1, and now they're at Lambeau Field tonight. Lambeau, Green Bay, 3.5-point favorite at home. Coulter, who do you like in this football game?
Packers. I'm not ever going to pick against the Packers at home unless they're playing. I don't know. There's only about a handful of teams I'd even consider.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm going to be sitting with my mother and the generational Tutel/Brusco synergy reaching over from the state of Wisconsin into Montana and back again is going to rule the day. And Green Bay, first of all, needs to win this game. You don't think a 4-1 team needs to win. I think they need to win it, because if they win it, not only are they 5-1, they're 3-0 against the division.
Right.
And that's with one win over everybody, not just 2 wins over the worst team or whatever. That puts them obviously in the driver's seat in the NFC North. And I think that to be really successful this year, they got to win the division and have that home field going on into the playoffs. So it's a long ways to get there, obviously, but a Lions team that, see, here's the thing. The Lions, whatever your team is, the team that's bad in your division, they're lovable because they're bad. But all of a sudden, if they're pretty good, you sit here and you go, hey, what's going on now, Detroit? Who do you think you are? Don't come in here and start messing around. Take your 13, 20-point loss and go away. That ain't happening tonight, I don't think. I think Detroit is good. I think Kerryon Johnson's good. Matt Stafford is always kind of who he is, which you want Matt Stafford to be better than he is, but don't kid yourself that means somehow he's not good. He's really good. And so it's it's on again on Monday Night Football, and an NFC North divisional matchup from Lambeau. It's going to be great. Can't wait. Quick break. On the other side, around the FCS, the new top 25 is out. So we will take a look at who moved. Four, count up, people. 4 top 10 teams in the nation lost Saturday. A lot of movement in the FCS polls. We'll get to it right after this. Cleaning your gutter, it's not fun. Potentially dangerous if you're inept and unbalanced like me. Don't do it. Don't get up on that ladder. Don't get on that roof. Go to MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. You got a leak. You got water falling all over the place. You got the thing backing up. Maybe your gutter's starting to fall down. It ruins your foundation of your home. You know this? Your home's going to suffer if your gutters aren't clean and cleaned well. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. They're going to take the hassle out of it. You're going to get your time back. You can watch Monday Night Football while people who know how to clean these gutters clean them. They're insured. Okay? They're competent. They have all the tools. And you got none of those things. You're not insured. You fall down, that's on you, bud. You know? Let the people who know what they're doing do it. Get your estimate right now. And as soon as the job is done, you're going to get a $20 gift card to your favorite brewery or coffee shop. How great is that? Online. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Go there now. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
Your Earl Grey tea gets a lot more exciting when Florence Coffee Company turns it into a London fog. This delicious beverage has become popular in the Northwest for a good reason. Steamed milk, vanilla, and Earl Grey tea combine to give you a drink that is uplifting and calming at the same time. It's the perfect afternoon pick-me-up. Try a London fog today at any Florence Coffee location or go to florencecoffeeco.com.
The best flavor under the big sky. Florence Coffee Company.
Hey everybody, Ryan Tutel, and I'm here with Josh of the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, there's a lot of lawyers in this area. What makes you different?
At the Advocates, we primarily focus on injury cases. That gives us the experience and the knowledge to correctly evaluate your case and work with insurance companies and other attorneys so you get exactly what you deserve to make you whole again. We take really good care of our clients, and we're going to fight for every single dollar you deserve.
Call 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The fish are done biting, the boat's all packed away, and it's time to get back to what really matters, watching sports and drinking beer. Whether your letters are NHL, NBA, NCAA, MLB, catch your game at the Desperado Sports Tavern, Missoula's sports headquarters. With 32 HD TVs, there's no way you'll miss a minute of every touchdown, three-pointer, or seventh inning stretch this fall. Wash away last week's loss with a cold pint from local Montana brewery, or crack open a classic if that's more your thing. Cheer on your team at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. If you loved our season opener, Go Please Go, or even if you missed it but still want to see the rest of the season, you're in luck. Season ticket packages are still on sale for just $70. That's $70 for 3 more innovative and exciting shows, including our production of War of the Worlds in January. Go to montanarep.com to get your tickets today.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good evening. Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. Suddenly, the Sentinel Spartans are a defensive powerhouse and the champions of Missoula. Behind a salty defensive effort and an offense that continues to roll, Sentinel rolled Hellgate 44-6 Friday night. The Spartans allowed a combined 2 first-half touchdowns and wins over Hellgate and Missoula Big Sky overall to earn the outright city crown. Friday, Sentinel allowed just 31 yards rushing and 162 total yards, blanking the Hellgate offense. Cam Morant scored a defensive touchdown for Hellgate's only score. Sentinel star Jackson Lee, he had 158 yards rushing on 17 carries in the first half alone, finished with 3 total touchdowns. The win moves Sentinel to 6-1, while Hellgate falls to 3-3.
The Montana Grizzlies had a bye, but they still moved up 3 spots to number 5 in this week's FCS poll. Part of that because of what happened in Bozeman. Sacramento State posted a convincing 34-21 victory over number 6 Montana State to snap a 5-game winning streak for the Cats. MSU managed just 2.5 yards per carry outside of Logan Jones's 40-yard run. Only 16 yards on 15 carries in the second half. The Cats, number 13 this week's poll. Sac State, number 15.
The MLB NLCS, it continues this evening. We'll have it right here for you on ESPN Radio. The Washington Nationals and the St. Louis Cardinals going to play. We'll send you out to Washington Stadium where the Nationals have a 2-0 series lead as soon as Tutel Nuanez is over. Of movement in the FCS nationally. 4 teams from the Big Sky Conference still in the rankings. We'll go through all of it.
I said Cats were number 13 in the poll. That's what I voted them. They're number 12, actually.
Okay.
So messed that one up.
How did you miss? How did you miss like that, man? I said 4 teams. Actually, there's 5 Big Sky teams in the poll still. Totals. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. sportsconverage.com. If you would like to listen to this show, first of all, thank you. We appreciate that very much. If you'd like to listen live and you're not near your radio, or it's just easier for you, or you're out of market, go online, 1029ESPN.com. You can listen to the stream. Stream is available all the time, and it is there thanks to Opportunity Bank. Your local bank, your opportunity. Coulter, the FCS Top 25 poll had quite a bit of shaken up in the top 10. 4 top 10 teams lost. Now, that comes with a caveat. 2 of them were going to lose because there was 2 top 10 matchups in the FCS this week. So we'll get to that. Right now, after all the shaking is done, North Dakota State, who won 42-14?
46-14 over number 10, Northern Iowa.
They remain undefeated and the number 1 team in the nation. And then James Madison, who had the other top matchup, they had a strong win, 12-point win, something like that.
38-24 over Villanova.
So 14-point win over then number 5 Villanova. So Villanova falls from 5 to 7, and Northern Iowa falls out of the top 10 down to number 13. Neither of those teams fall very much, though, because they're playing, the number 1 and 2 teams in the nation, North Dakota State and James Madison. South Dakota State, they win by 10 over Youngstown State, covered, by the way, just so you know. They are 5-1. They're number 3. Weber State 4-2. Montana 5-1. They are 4-5. The Montana Grizzlies into the top 5 in the country. Been a while. Montana's been a number 5 team. And here's what's remarkable: they had a bye and they moved up 3 spots in the top 10. I mean, they're already at 8 and they move up 3 spots, not playing a game. Somebody's living right.
We just did an hour on Sac State ruining Montana State's homecoming and beating them thoroughly in Bozeman, and as Captain Kevin Cass has said, trying to find some light in the darkness. I would say the number 1 factor to having success during an FCS season, unless you play at North Dakota State, is rebounding from when you lose, because you will lose. What happens the next week? That's why UC Davis has their backs against the wall, because they lost barely to North Dakota State, and then they got their butts whipped by Montana, and then they let it matriculate into losing at North Dakota, and all of a sudden you're on a 3-game losing streak. How do you right the ship? You have to figure out how to snap it. But you look at this, I mean, I was having a hard time figuring out who am I going to vote for, because I was just sitting here this morning trying to weigh losses, because 11 teams in the top 25 lost, and 8 of them lost to unranked teams. So where are you at? Who lost to who? Which is a more quality loss is what you're trying to quantify. But then who's outside the poll that could get into the poll? I mean, first and foremost, total tangent, but I refuse to vote for Ivy League teams. They don't play anybody. They're not part of the playoff system. Get out of here, Ivy League. I don't care. Dartmouth,
fire.
Princeton, all this. If you're not going to play anybody, how am I supposed to gauge it? If all you do is play each other.
If I knew you were going to come in this hot, I would have had our Burn Street Bistro Burn of the Week ready to go. You know? Look at you.
Well, they're already getting the mention because you just said Burn
Street.
Well, anyways, but when you're trying to just equate how do you get in the top 25, and then you're looking at just how many teams lost, it's just sort of crazy to really look at it, but it's also just a part of this level of football. So how do you get back on track? That's going to be the key.
Montana State, by the way, they obviously lost. They dropped from 6 down to 13, and then it was Towson, who was number 9 in the nation. They also fell precipitously all the way down to number 18 following a loss. So those are the 4 top 10.
They lost 38-21 to an unranked Albany team.
So those are the 4 teams in the top 10 that all lost, making way for a bunch of teams to move up in the poll. Still, though, 5 Big Sky teams. Weber State at 4, Montana at 5. Montana State still there at 12. And then Sacramento State, probably the biggest mover of anybody. They will go from unranked to 15th in the nation, the Sacramento State Hornets, which you had them 13th last week. Where did you have them this week?
8.
Okay, whoa.
I mean, I'm
not going to sit here and argue with you. I watched it firsthand.
I mean, if you go dismantle the number 6 team in the country at Bobcat Stadium, which is one of the 5 hardest places in the country to play on a sunny homecoming Saturday, so everybody was ready to roll. I mean, that stadium maximum capacity is 17,777, and they had 19,347 there, so they were 2,500 over capacity.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to do that in front of that crowd after the enthusiasm of the announcement and everything like that, I mean, Sac State took Montana State apart so thoroughly that the crowd was a non-factor. By the second quarter.
The loudest cheer at Bobcat Stadium on Saturday was when they announced that Kenny Chesney and Michael Franti are coming to play Bozeman, which is great. What a great package that is. kind of grabbing from both sides of the fence there on the country side, and then the like kind of pop reggae thing. Okay.
The other impactful FCS result, which everybody's been wondering, what are the Delaware Blue Hens? Because to open the season, they started off 2-0. They beat Delaware State. Okay, you should. They went to triple overtime with Rhode Island, who's not a great team, but they won the game. And then Delaware was competitive with NDSU until NDSU boat raced them in the fourth quarter. They ended up losing by 25 points, but they were in the game a little bit until the third quarter. But then they only beat Penn, another Ivy League team, by 1. And then they lost to Pitt 17-14, and they were winning that game 14-10 late in the fourth quarter. So you're thinking, man, these guys, where are we at? They were in it with North Dakota State. They were in it with Pitt. And then they just got destroyed by Elon, 42-7. Elon's a team that I had in my top 25. They got the auto bid out of the CAA last year, which was completely surprising because they're not one of the traditional powers. They're not James Madison or Richmond or Delaware or New Hampshire or William and Mary. I mean, they are the least brand name team in the whole conference, and they came out of nowhere as the newest member of the conference to win it. And then they came into this year with high expectations, and they really stubbed their toe early. But that's a huge win for Elon, and I had them back in my top 25 as well. So Delaware, where are we at with them? Not sure. They don't have enough quality wins to me. They got some of the best quality losses in the FCS, but what does that even mean? And so it's interesting to see how this all plays out. But when you're looking at this list of top 25 results, there are so many teams with 2, 3, 4 losses that are amongst the teams competing. So when you are a Weber State that has 2 losses, but they're both FBS losses, you are a Sac State with 2 losses, but they're both FBS losses. You're the Cats that only has the 1 FCS loss. You're the Grizz that has no FCS losses. To me, that carries a lot of weight. That's why I had 4 Big Sky teams in my top 12, because I think that Weber State, Montana, Sac State, and even Montana State still have some of the more impressive resumes in the FCS.
The one other team, by the way, from the Big Sky that is still in the top 25 is UC Davis. They were at 24 last week. They move up 1 spot to 23 after they beat Cal Poly handily 48-24, doubling up the Mustangs on Saturday. Eastern Washington, they won easily against Northern Colorado, which if you're a good team, you should do.
Up 40-0 at halftime.
Yeah, defensive scoop and score to make it 30-0, and it was all bad for Northern Colorado.
Colorado's they're just so bad, man.
Yeah, they did get the 1 win though, But anyway, point being, Eastern Washington is still not in the top 25, and nor should they be. By the way, I mean that win is all well and good, but it's not enough to move the needle particularly. They're going to have some work to do to prove what and who they are, first of all to themselves, I think, over there in Cheney, and then to everybody else as well.
A couple more scores from around the Big Sky quickly. Idaho State dismantled North Dakota. They won 55-20. Matt Struck, 396 yards passing and 5 touchdowns.
You don't know who was going to do it, but if Idaho State is playing, somebody's scoring 50 points.
It's seriously
either them or somebody else, and somebody's putting up 50 if the Bengals are playing football.
Eric Barrier threw for 445 yards and 5 scores in that Eastern Washington win over Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
Portland State 24-0, including 14 fourth quarter points over Idaho, and 4 interceptions, 2 each, Mason Petrino and Colton Richardson. So it's a fascinating thing that Idaho's doing with their quarterbacks. There's been all this controversy over Mason Petrino. Paul Petrino's playing his son. He's not been good. I think he's got 13 turnovers over his last 5 games. Meantime, they're trying to redshirt Colton Richardson, who's a guy who split time with him, but he does get to play in 4 games. So they let him play in this game significantly as a dual quarterback system, but the guy's not in the future plans, but maybe he is. It's a weird, muddy situation right now.
Is this the big guy?
Jared Lorenzen Jr.,
yes.
6'6", 285, yeah.
I mean, he is a big man, and it's not all good weight.
Oh, no, he's portly.
Yes.
Indeed.
Okay.
UC Davis back on track, 48-24 over Cal Poly. Jake Mayer, 378 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Weber State did not cover the 23.5, which was a killer for us, for FCS speculators, which, by the way, stay tuned. We'll get a new FCS speculators sooner than later this week, and appreciate everybody for downloading it and subscribing. And if you haven't yet, download, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. But Weber State 29-14 in the Battle of the Beehive State over Southern Utah. And the story of the week this week was almost every single one of the winning teams forced so many turnovers, and almost every single one of the winning teams had their star quarterback step up and explode. All the star quarterbacks threw 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The only star quarterback that wasn't playing, Case Cookus.
And Dalton Sneed. Yeah. All right. Very good. Coulter. Appreciate it. Top 25. Very interesting. I love it. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll take a quick break. Come back. We'll get you set for Monday Night Football. We'll get you set for Monday Night NLCS Baseball. The game has just begun in Washington. Give you a live update right after this.
That was your Burn Street Bistro Burn of the Week.
See, he drops it on me, and I didn't know because we were talking about it.
Well, it's okay. We both had good burns. Ivy League don't get top 25 votes, and the Cats, the largest ovation on homecoming weekend for Kenny Chesney.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up, pump it up.
Buy one, get one free at your local Town Pump. Your Bay sparkling water, buy one, get one free. Plus, high brew 11-ounce coffee, buy one, get one free. Grab a friend and head to Town Pump. There's one right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark Fork Law Offices. Our Missoula firm specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. There are many unknowns when injured or disabled. The other side is fighting hard. You should too. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
Get ready to sing, dance, and laugh until your cheeks hurt with the interactive, unforgettable Dueling Pianos show, October 19th at the UC Ballroom. Dueling Pianos is a gala benefiting Montana children, and you can help by purchasing tickets at montanahope.org. Guests will enjoy a lively evening of dueling pianos, hors d'oeuvres, silent auctions, and raffles. All proceeds will benefit the Montana Hope Project and Catholic Social Services of Montana. Kids 10 and under are free. Learn more and purchase tickets at montanahope.org.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Don't worry, buddy. I'll dock the ship. You know, I got you. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway, Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the show, check it out on the podcast. Podcast available wherever you get your podcast. You can get this podcast, Tutel and Nuanez podcast, available all over the place, thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Also, if you're watching us on SWX Montana Television or on the YouTube, you can watch later too. You can. It's effectively a visual podcast on YouTube. There's our all archive there too. Which, why wouldn't you want to see us? You know, that's what I wonder. Bottom of the first inning, Jack Flaherty pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals against the Washington Nationals. 2 outs, nobody on, 0-0 the score. Steven Strasburg, a perfect first inning, 3 up, 3 down, 2 strikeouts in the first inning for the Washington Nationals. So Strasburg and Flaherty, and this is a gots-to-get-it type of game for the St. Louis Cardinals as they are down 0-2 in the series and now on the road. Coulter, Carlos Correa.
Loved it.
The moment of the postseason last night, walking it off in the 11th, on the first pitch of the bottom of the 11th inning, a no-doubter to right field, and one of my, certainly, and perhaps all-time favorite reaction to a home run and a moment that I've ever seen. Doesn't throw the bat. He grabs the end of it, holds it, and just stares at his own dugout and then the fans while the ball's still in the air. I mean, it was so far gone that the pitcher whose name I don't even know who threw the ball starts immediately walking off for the Yankees dugout. Jay Happ, okay, thank you. And then Carlos Correa. I mean, you know when the golfers, Coulter, when they rip 1-3-50 down the middle and they just pick up the tee and start walking, this was the equivalent of that, but way bigger. I mean, with 40,000 people, whoever it is, they're at Enron Stadium cheering him on, going yes, I know it's not Enron anymore. If you're wondering, yes, I did slip that in there for fun. But
Minute Maid, I think
it's remarkable. I mean, that was one of the great moments last night when he did that, and absolutely electrifying. And people who, can kind of take or leave baseball, this is a moment where you go, wow, how great was that?
Kid's got a flair for the moment, no doubt about it. This is what I'm always complaining about when it comes to baseball is the lack of marketing for guys like him. Make this kid a star. He is a star. I mean, he's been a star in the postseason. And I get it. It's regional and all that stuff. But to me, that kid is just – he's got a flair for the moment, which is the most important part of being a superstar in baseball. And I just love his swagger. I mean, he's – talking about big moments in the postseason. He's got one of the great walk-offs we've seen. And then last time when they won the World Series, he one-ups everybody and proposes to his girlfriend right there in front of everybody. I mean – the kid can seize the moment for sure, but the Astros are endlessly fun to watch, and that's been the identity of this team since they won that first World Series, and it's impressive because the windows in pro sports now are so small, and for them to win that World Series and then come up just short last year, and then now be back in and maybe be the favorite. It's impressive to not only just the talent they have on their roster, but just the culture they have in their clubhouse, because they just seem like they're having the best time all the time.
Well, they are. And, Carlos Correa, too, he is a star. But also, this is a team of stars, man. Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, these guys got it when it comes to the flair for the moment, the feel in the moment, the dramatic, and the George Springer. I mean, there's all of these guys have that sort of factor, and this is a really fun team to watch, man. The Houston Astros, like I could give a rip about Houston or the Astros, historically or whatever. It's not my city, it's not my team, but this team is a ball to watch play baseball. And by the way, I know you hate them, a lot of people do, but the Yankees are pretty fun to watch too. I mean, they got guys going bonkers out there swinging the bat, and they got some decent pitchers as well, especially in their bullpen. The one pitch home run, give it up, notwithstanding. So this is a great series. I got the winner of this series winning the World Series. So this is obviously major. But these two teams are just fun to watch go at it. And again, the postseason, it's just different because even when there's quote nothing going on, everything's going on in the postseason. Like it's phenomenal.
It's going to be fun to watch it all play out. I think that definitely would you agree with this? Would you agree that the winner of the American League is going to win the World Series?
Yes. I would agree with that, as that's what I said.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think that these are the two best teams that are playing right now.
Bottom of the first inning, 2 outs, 1 man now on, though, for the Washington Nationals as they are working against Jack Flaherty in the bottom of the first inning, still 0-0.
I must apologize. I called Sean Michael Dugar earlier. We had a breakthrough last week. We said,
none of the above.
We said, hey, man, can we actually ask you if it's okay if we called you Mike, and he's like, "That's what I like.
Yeah,
I'm into Mike."
Well, he is at Mike Dugar anyway.
Exactly. So Mike Dugar is what we'll just call him from now on. 12 for the 12. Stay tuned for that every Friday. It's been a great segment. He's doing a great job.
Awesome.
And Mike, I'm sorry that I got your name backwards. That's probably why you don't like the full version of it. So we'll just stick to calling you Mike.
Also, Greg Belt tomorrow. He is joining us he
Tacoma
covers the
News
Seahawks
Tribune
for the News Tribune in Tacoma. So he will help us out. We'll get one coming out of the week. Talk about the game that was, which in this case was a win over the Browns, and then next week's game, which I haven't even looked up who Seattle's got next week. I got to go track that down, but we'll do that on Friday as well. Tonight, Monday Night Football, as we mentioned, the Green Bay Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. They're 3.5 point home favorite. Give it to me all day long. Packers, I don't know. I think it's the breakthrough today, Coulter.
Breakthrough of what?
41-17, Green Bay.
When's the last time you saw an NFL game with that score? That didn't involve one of them? Never, almost never.
No.
It was a very college-like score that you threw out there.
Yeah, it's almost certainly not going to happen.
Like in the NFL, you could just dominate somebody. It's like 24-13.
It's true.
I mean, like the best performance the Vikings have had all year was against the Falcons, and they won 28-14. They're up 28-0. They won 28-14. That's as good as it gets in the league.
This is what I'm talking about here. David's got it figured out back there. He knows how to set you off into Monday Night Football with the Green Bay Packers playing. Boys and girls, enjoy the baseball. Enjoy the football. We send you out to the nation's capital. End of the first inning, 0-0. You'll be there for the top of the second. See you tomorrow.
The big skies are open. Go wild with Opportunity Reward Checking. Go ahead, jump, dance, shout. Opportunity Reward Checking will make you do that. Go wild when you get your 1% cash back on qualified debit card purchases. It all starts with an Opportunity Reward Checking account from Opportunity Bank. Visit a branch today to get started. Then go wild and spend your 1% cash back however you want. Go wild with Reward Checking from Opportunity Bank. Some restrictions may apply. Member FDIC.
The Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles to be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 10/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015s through 2020s, subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride. Hey folks, Ryan Tutel, and I'm here with Josh of the Advocates. Josh, do most injury accidents end up in court?
Luckily, most personal injury cases can be settled out of court through a fair negotiation with an insurance company. However, sometimes it is necessary. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to get a fair settlement. Luckily, most personal injury cases can be settled out of court with a fair negotiation with the insurance company. However, I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to get the right settlement for you.
It's Josh at the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
We've combined quality ingredients with home-style recipes to create the Montana Club's fall comfort food menu. Savor our tender boneless beef short rib or caramelized brandy apple pork shank. Dig into our classic savory chicken pot pie or fall for our zesty skillet lasagna. Top things off with our creamy pumpkin skillet a la mode. Scratch-made comfort food that's as real as it gets. Served 11:30 to close at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hi, this is Michael Egg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. If you loved our season opener, Go Please Go, or even if you missed it but still want to see the rest of the season, you're in luck. Season ticket packages are still on sale for just $70. That's $70 for 3 more innovative and exciting shows, including our production of War of the Worlds in January. Go to montanarep.com to get your tickets today.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.